Young people just don't want to work anymore. You've heard it from your uncle at Thanksgiving, seen it plastered across LinkedIn, and maybe you've even thought it yourself. But here's the thing. That exact phrase has been printed in newspapers since 1894. Every single generation has said it about the next one. So let's skip the lecture about work ethic and hustle culture. Instead, let's talk about what's actually changed. The career ladder is broken. Your parents could walk into a company, shake a hand, and get a job that lasted 40 years with a pension at the end. Today, the average person changes jobs every 2.8 years. Not because they're flaky, because companies stopped investing in them first. A 2023 LinkedIn study found that 94% of employees would stay longer if companies invested in their learning. They're not leaving. They're being pushed out by stagnant wages and zero growth opportunities. Let's do some math that older generations might not love. In 1970, minimum wage could cover 72% of average rent. Today, it covers about 35%. A house cost roughly 2 times the median annual income. Now, it's nearly 8 times. College tuition has increased 1,200% since 1980, while wages grew just 67%. This isn't about avocado toast. The fundamental math of survival has completely changed, and pretending otherwise is just denial. Here's where it gets interesting. Anthropologist David Graeber wrote a book called Bullshit Jobs, and it went viral because it named something everyone felt. He found that nearly 40% of workers believe their jobs make no meaningful contribution to the world. Think about that. 4 in 10 people go to work every day feeling like what they do doesn't actually matter. And young people, who grew up watching climate change accelerate and institutions fail, are asking a radical question. Why should I sacrifice my life for meaningless work? The gig economy promised freedom, but delivered precarity. Uber, DoorDash, TaskRabbit, they sold flexibility, but a 2022 study found gig workers earn 58% less per hour than traditional employees when you account for expenses and unpaid time. No health care, no retirement, no sick days. Young people aren't lazy for rejecting this. They're smart enough to recognize a bad deal when they see one. The hustle culture that glorifies working 3 jobs isn't inspirational. It's a symptom of a broken system. What we're witnessing isn't laziness. It's a quiet revolution. Gallup reports that employee engagement hit an 11-year low in 2023. Quiet quitting became a phenomenon not because people stopped caring, but because they stopped over-caring for employers who never cared back. The psychological contract between worker and company, loyalty exchanged for security, was broken by corporations decades ago. Young people are just the first generation to fully internalize that lesson. But wait, aren't young people all about side hustles? Yes, and that proves the point. A Bankrate survey found 44% of Americans have a side hustle, with the highest rates among Gen Z and millennials. They're not working less, they're working differently. They're building their own thing because traditional employment failed to provide stability or meaning. The entrepreneurial spirit isn't dead. It's just been redirected away from corporations that don't deserve it. Research from Deloitte shows that Gen Z ranks work-life balance and mental health above salary when choosing jobs. This isn't entitlement. This is wisdom. They watched their parents sacrifice everything for companies that laid them off in 2008. They saw burnout destroy people they love. They're choosing differently. And honestly, previous generations should be proud, not angry. They raised kids smart enough to demand better. The pandemic revealed something corporations didn't want us to know. Most office work, can be done from anywhere. Productivity actually increased during remote work for many industries. But now, companies are forcing return-to-office mandates, and young workers are calling the bluff. A 2023 survey found 64% of workers would consider quitting if forced back full-time. They're not being difficult. They're refusing to commute 2 hours for work they proved they can do in pajamas. So no, young people don't want to work anymore. At least not the way work has been defined for them. They don't want to grind for companies that see them as disposable. They don't want to sacrifice their health for jobs that don't matter. They don't want to pretend the old rules still apply when the game has fundamentally changed. What they do want is meaning, fairness, and a life worth living. And honestly, isn't that what everyone has always wanted? Maybe they're not the problem. Maybe they're just the first ones brave enough to say it out loud.